Here's Brody Brazil.
Hey, welcome to something new I'm trying here on the channel. This is Home Studio Production Basics. It's going to be a series for all of you out there who have now created a space in your home to make content, whether it's for YouTube or live streaming or Zoom calls or Zoom conferences. The home studio can be a powerful thing here in 2022 and beyond. And so I want to start some episodes here to help you with fine points and tips to optimize how your studio looks and upgrade its production value. So the first episode here is all about the very first 3 tips I would give anyone and everyone. These are simple, they're straightforward. I hope they make sense. I hope they help you. Number 1 is framing. I do believe that the framing of your shot is about 80% of your visuals. Like when I say framing, head space, look space, right and left. Is the camera level? Is it tilted one way? Is the camera too high on me? Is it too low shooting up on me? What's the background look like? What's the aperture set at? All these different things, right? They all matter when it comes to framing the shot. That sounds like such a number one basic thing, and I'm not going to go into every detail to teach you here in this episode of how to frame a shot. Just know that framing alone can make a bad camera look really good, and it can make a really good camera look really bad if you simply frame the shot poorly. The second thing that is critical is lighting. Now I'm telling you here to use what you've got. We'll get into this more in detail. It could be ambient lighting. It could be a setup like this where there's 3-point lighting with hair lights and backlights and everything else. Use every single resource you have when it comes to lighting. Think about something complementary to you, your background. Again, we'll dive deeper in just a second. And then audio. I know we've talked about the visuals, framing and lighting, and it's how you look that's important, right? Well, yes, but I'm also here to tell you that audio is about 65% of your total video. Let that sink in for just a second. If people can't hear you, what are you there for? What's your message? How's it going to get across when they can only see you well and they're so distracted by how bad you sound? So let's get into framing in more detail and then everything else. Framing in terms of focal length. Are you using a camera with a wide angle lens? Because if you are, you're going to want that to be closer to you instead of farther away. Same thing if your lens is of a longer focal length. You can't sit 2 feet away. The camera may not even be able to focus on you from such a close distance. Also, wide lens gives you more background. Long lens going to give you less background, something to think about. But just know that part of your framing is figuring out, do I even have the ability to adjust the zoom on this lens? Is it fixed? Is it prime? Or is it a zoom lens? Can I control what my background looks like? And that is number 2, the background. Your framing is going to dictate what's behind you. Take time here as you set up your shot. I mean, I'm looking at my own monitor here. What's in the background? Is everything straight? Is it level? Can I adjust a few things? Stop for a second, right? As you look at your shot, or maybe as you record your shot and play it back. Look critically at what's behind you. Is there too much background? Too little background? Too much going on in the background? Is there something I can't control in the background? These are all things to consider. All right, also when it comes to framing is camera positioning. And like I said before, is the tripod up too high? Is it down too low? Is it one of those old up my nostril shots because the laptop is facing here? And I guess we could be talking about webcams, mirrorless cameras, DSLRs, broadcast cameras, laptop cameras. Everything here is on the table. A camera is a camera, but how are you positioning it? How's it capturing you is what's important. Headroom, which I'll describe in just a second, that's also critical. Now, here on my shot, I'm giving myself actually less headroom at the top of the screen than probably most would say by the textbook. But this is what I've chosen. I use this shot, my seat height, my camera position, it never moves. I've set this all on purpose, but it's up to you to make sure that you don't have, too much headroom, or that I'm crooked in the shot, or I'm not taking up the right amount of space on the screen. Look space, speaking of that, and I'm centered up here, right? And we'll look at an example of this in a second. If I were slightly to this side of the screen or slightly to this side of the screen, am I proportionate? Am I part of the rule of thirds, which is not necessarily a law, it's just a rule, all right? It's something to follow. It's more of a guideline, really, than it actually should be called a rule. But look space and the rule of thirds. So what am I talking about here? Screen grab of myself here. I'm centered up. I'm in that middle third. You can see how I've divided the screen into thirds from left to right and top to bottom. And ideally, your head, your face, it's going to be on that line of the top third. It happens to be going right through my nose. Some people say it should go through your eyes. And it could be. That's fine too. But if it went through my chin, now that might be a problem. Not enough headspace. If that top line right here, if that went through the top of my head or my hair, then there would be too much headspace. Now also think about, like I said before, if I was on the right third of this screen or the left third of this screen, is there too much space? Am I too near the edge? If my head was, for example, if my head was over here, that's probably too much look space if I'm looking this way, right? Maybe more right here. If my head was here, looking this way. Yeah, there you go. Head here, head here, looking this way. That's more appropriate. Or head here, looking this way, but not head way over here. That's too much look space. Look space is the free space on the screen. Again, none of this applies to me actually right now because I'm literally centered up. So the rule of thirds, look it up for more information, but that's something to consider. Okay, now we get to lighting. What lighting resources do we have here? Sometimes we're outside and we don't necessarily have a lighting kit or a color temperature light setup where we can light outside. So that's fine. What outside assets are you going to use? The shade, maybe a reflector, get everything in the shade or everything in the sun? Or is it a totally lit environment, meaning that you're inside, you can control the lights, you can put a blackout curtain over the window so that you don't have daylight mixing with different color temperatures. So what resources do you have? I think that's an initial question, but the answer is no matter what resources you have or don't, use them wisely. Now it could be something as simple as a ring light. A ring light is good, but use it from the proper position. If it's this close to my face, how washed out do you think my skin is going to look? That's probably going to be too close. You really have to experiment with everything here. Distances away, effect it has, color temperature, play with that. Intensity, also play with that. Lighting is huge. Now we're talking about lighting the subject initially. You can obviously see here in the home studio, there's lighting all around. There's even lighting specific to this tree, this fake tree behind me, which I actually just touched. So you have to consider what resources you have, slow it down, don't rush this shot. Put it up, record it, go back, look at it, figure out what changes you can make. Same thing to framing, right? You want to go back and critique the lighting. How can I tweak things to make it just a bit better? You also want to avoid obvious traps. For example, I don't want to put the sun right behind me. I don't probably want to be looking right into a bright light. I don't want to have the light right on top of me so that it's weird shadows below my nose and my chin and my chest. Like, there are obvious things you can do wrong. I can't get into all of those here, but if you're looking at yourself and something is obviously not right, you're doing it wrong. You've probably seen enough lighting to understand what looks wrong. So avoid the obvious traps. Keep it simple. Like I said, flattering is important. What makes you look good? Play with it for a second. Move that ring light up and down. Look at that. See when I just put my hand between the light and my face, see what happened here? So if there was something in the way and I was recording like this, I would figure out what this is so I can move it. And now it looks like this. This light is not too hot on me, not too close to me. It's about as dim as I can get it. It helps me or the subject or anybody sitting in the seat. It helps create a flattering situation. And then also, we've talked about lighting here exclusively. How can we adjust the lights? Move them closer, move them farther, point them a little bit away, like deflect them from us, point them to a background. But you can also control lighting and video levels with camera settings, adjusting your aperture, adjusting your ISO, adjusting your shutter speed, adjusting your iris, depending on your camera lens setup, even some simple exposure settings on more basic cameras. Whatever it is, there are ways to actually tweak your lighting a little bit, fine-tune your lighting with camera settings, if that makes sense. It's kind of a backwards way of doing it. You should probably get your lighting as best as possible, then do the camera settings. but you can also have one help the other. Okay, now we get to audio, last but definitely not least. When you're doing live streams, when you're doing broadcasting work, when you're recording a YouTube video, whenever you're creating content and you're talking, are you actually mic'd up? Clearly, I am here. This is a legendary, beautiful microphone that I'm fortunate to have here in the home studio. Not everybody has an external microphone, but I would ask you, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, shouldn't some type of external mic be in your budget? Like, shouldn't that be worth the value? They're not that expensive. You can get a lavalier mic. You can plug into your computer at the very least. It clips onto you. That mic from this proximity is going to pick you up so much cleaner, so much clearer than a laptop microphone from 6 feet away. So what mic are you using is the subject mic'd up. Is it possible to make videos in your iPhone without any external microphone? Yeah. Is it optimal? No. Possible, yes. Optimal, no. I also want you to consider for audio acoustics of your room. Now, I'm here in a home studio and you can't see it, but there are panels on all the walls. There are some treatment objects on the ceiling. All of this to deaden the sound in this room so that when I clap or snap, or even if I talk really loud, it's not going to reverberate. My voice is not going to bounce off of every wall and get back into this microphone. Now, can you control this all the time? Absolutely not. Sometimes you have to do a Zoom call and a recording in your kitchen. That's usually terrible acoustics. All the hard surfaces, cabinets, maybe hardwood floors, panels of this, glass of that, the refrigerator making a buzzing noise. There's so many things going on here. So acoustics are not always in your control, but let's say I'm recording a podcast. It's audio only. Nobody's going to see this, so why wouldn't I go into the master bedroom closet? There's clothes. There's 2 racks of clothes everywhere. It's a small room. Man, you could clap in there and the echoes it's non-existent. It's a dead audio room in there, dead acoustic room in there, which is great. So why not, right? Think about where, if you have the choice to record anywhere, go for the best audio environment you can. Proper levels are critical. Obviously, I'm set up here in a situation where there's compression, there's equalization, it's all done in real time. But the gain structure I've got set now, what am I talking about here? The audio levels or gain. Basically, how loud the microphone is going to record. This needs to be set. A lot of times it is a setting. Many times people just look at audio levels on a meter and say, oh, I'm recording. But they don't realize it's way too low or it's way too high and overmodulating or even clipping. So proper levels, something to consider. Nobody likes trying to suffer through a video like, I can't hear what this person is saying, or, oh my gosh, this sounds terrible. I need to turn the volume down. Bad audio will ruin a perfect video. Also, the proper mix. If I were playing sound effects or music here in the background, are you able to hear my voice at a good volume over the mix of effects or any other music sources below? I can't teach you everything here. I just want to pass along. These are things to consider. How loud or hopefully quiet, not quiet, is your voice compared to everything else? And the last way, or the last tip, but it's a big way that you can help yourself out in all of this, is to do what I'm doing right now. Now, my setup is such that I can monitor my voice through this microphone in real time through my headset. Not all microphone setups allow you to do this, or microphone into a camera, or a computer. That's not always an option, but there are a lot of USB mics out there these days that podcasters and live streamers use, where you can plug a headphone into a jack and you can hear yourself in real time. This is a great way. Self-monitoring is huge, to know that everything you're recording is exactly how you want it. I'm freaked out right now recording this because I can't hear myself through the headphones right now. And I'm wondering, is everything okay? Are the levels good? I know they are because I'm talking at the same volume, but it's just not the same unless I have these on. So they don't even have to be big headphones. You can get in-ear monitors, but self-monitoring while you're recording and especially while you're live streaming is huge. To know what the audience is hearing the same time you're hearing it, that cuts down a lot of problems in production. So Those were my 3 first tips, right? Framing, lighting, and audio. If you can do a good job with those 3 things, I guarantee instantly right there, you've already upped your production value. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I've got lots more videos like these coming out soon. Take care.